Hello, everybody. My name is Tori.
And I'm Tim.
And this is the Stuck Together Podcast, episode
13. We're back at it.
Let's go.
Hope everybody enjoyed Ackland last week on the podcast. We had a blast.
Oh, yeah. Super fun. And he stayed with us for a couple days, and we did a bunch of crazy stuff, which we went over on the podcast. I don't know why I'm saying it again.
But it was great.
Super fun. Super fun. We don't have company normally. Sorry, we're going to have to take the camera down because I get distracted by the gremlins.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Everything's recording. We're good. Goodbye. Now we can relax.
But yeah, we don't have company that like stays over a lot. So that was fun.
Yeah, it was great. It was a lot of fun. And we got to do tons of stuff. And I don't know if he necessarily did stuff he wouldn't. I mean, being here, he did stuff he wouldn't normally do. But, we wouldn't have normally gone to Meow Wolf, and we did that. I don't think either of us would have just been like, you know what? Let's go to Meow Wolf. Like,
absolutely
we wouldn't have done that. And I'm super glad that, even though we had a couple critiques of it or whatever, like it was still awesome. I'm glad we went and got to see it because it's here and there's not a lot of them. And it's something you got to go see, it's just one of those things.
Yep.
But
for sure.
Also, before we jump into the movie this week, I wanted to say we've been complaining about emails, complaining, and 2 people emailed us this week.
Who's the second?
So the first one was my brother John. And so his was that he wants to be on the podcast, and he put interview ideas in there. So we talked about it, and so he's going to be on the interview. When, we don't know, but he's going to come on. We'll probably figure out Google calls and stuff. He said, don't be sad about not getting emails. You're doing a great job, so thank you so much. John's an avid listener. And the one thing he did say in the email that I wanted to say is that he had an idea that after the podcast, we should tell people what movie we're going to do next week so they don't have to wait once they see the podcast, then watch the movie, then listen to So we'll at the end of this podcast, we'll tell you what we're going to watch next week.
Yep.
And so you can check it out.
Can I just say, can you click on John's, please? Go back.
Yeah.
One of his questions is, why are cars the problem and how do we fix it? And I just love that. That is such a broad question.
Well, it's like, I don't,
I
so he asked one of these questions I remember talking to John about that he asked. And so I remember talking to him about it and kind of discussing it or whatever. But the car thing, I think that's something he probably like has thought about a lot. But I don't know. I haven't talked to him about it, so I don't know exactly what he's talking about.
I mean, I don't think any of us are disagreeing that cars are a problem, but I want to know the in-depth.
Well,
thing.
Now I'm curious. So now we definitely have to have him on so we can ask.
Yep.
All right, let's.
Oh my!
So David sent us a huge email as well. Ackland from last week sent us a crazy email. Oh, it's.
You're gonna.
Oh no, it's a hand. Oh.
Ah! Zoom out. Oh my god.
Oh, so this is Ackland's cat.
Oh my gosh, this cat and Scout look so much alike. Oh my god.
Yeah, both tuxedos.
Yeah, apparently. So long hair tuxedos, apparently they meow very similarly, and the whiskers are the best part.
Totally. And those little beans, fluffy beans.
The little beans with a couple white patches. Oh, so cute.
I thought it was going to be a foot pic.
I know, I was a little scared. Okay, well, we love Molly.
What else does this email have? Okay, so he said in his email, I don't bro.
Here, go up here and you can't zoom out.
I remember.
Oh, here we go.
It's just right here. Okay. So Ackland said, reaction challenge. Want to see y'all react to this amazing video by Meat Canyon. Love y'all. Should we go for it?
Sure.
All right.
Yeah, it's about Taylor Swift. Let's see what this is about.
What is this?
Arrowhead Stadium is electric this Sunday as Taylor Swift is here before the kickoff, cheering on her man Travis Kelce. My God, is she beautiful.
I'm thinking about breaking up with Taylor.
Wait, you're gonna break up with Taylor Swift? Oh my god.
No. That's not what I said. I didn't say that.
That motherfucker's gonna break up with her. He's gonna break up with Taylor. Travis Kelce's gonna break up with Taylor. I think he's gonna break up with Travis. He's gonna break up with Travis.
Oh my god. That's how Swifties are.
Oh no.
No! Get your hands off me! No!
I hate this animation style so much.
Get
It's
your
so
goddamn
I've seen
hands
other
off me!
stuff like
No!
this animation style. It usually gets really
Why do you
gory
wanna
and
leave me?
brutal, so if you're sensitive to
Babe,
that,
that's not what I
don't
said.
watch this part probably. Is that Taylor?
Oh my god.
You know I would never say that. You know how tight we are, Tay-Tay. Come on.
Why do you have to lie to me?
Is she
I
controlling
love
them?
you. And you want to break my heart? Why can't you love me?
Love you? I barely know you. You want me to fawn over your existence? Everything is spectacle and everything so perfect and right. I try to get your attention, but it goes unnoticed until it's convenient for you. I can never love you because I can't stand the idea of you.
Jeez, how long have they been together?
I'm sorry, Taylor,
I don't think
but I think we should break up. Taylor! Oh, God! I'm so sorry. I'm
And there goes Taylor Swift, whose new song, Trouble on the 44-Yard Line, is already 12 times platinum.
Oh my god. The Cult of Taylor Swift is the recommended 100%.
You know,
Taylor
we gotta
Swift
get our
already gives me the creeps, so
yeah.
that was super.
Well, it didn't get gory if you stopped watching.
No,
I've
it
seen
didn't.
animation like that gets brutal.
I really did not like that animation style. It really, it creeped me out.
It's super creepy.
I'm not a fan.
Yeah, I mean the Taylor Swift cult's a real thing.
It's insane.
It's
It's
pretty
really
crazy.
weird, and I'm not down.
Well, I am grateful for that email. I won't.
Yeah. I also was just talking to Elise about their whole relationship and stuff, and how it's so like why do people care so much? Everyone's like, oh my god, she's at his football game. It's
Wait,
like,
are they dating right now?
yeah.
Oh, I thought that was just all fiction.
No, they're dating.
Oh,
Those her and
I don't care.
whatever his name is, but
I literally don't
like
care.
everyone's freaking out about it, and it's like, why are you freaking out? Like, that's just something like a good girlfriend does, is goes and watches your games. Like, chill the fuck out. They're like, she's here, oh my god, meh, meh, meh. And they're like, oh my god, Taylor Swift's boyfriend. Like, I don't know. I'm over it. I'm like, why? Why do you care?
See, this is the type of
Why do you
shit.
care?
I don't know if this is why Ackland sent it to us, but this is the type of shit where I'm like, go the fuck away. And why are you being weird with celebrities?
Yeah, it could be because we were partially we were talking about in the podcast before 2 podcasts before we were talking about like meeting famous people and like just treating them like normal people and stuff.
Yeah.
And like, why are you so like Big Sean with the tweet and everything? Just like
yeah.
like Swifties take it to the max. Like, I've seen, again, against my will, just like on Instagram, there'll be stuff on my Explore page that's just like, here's what Taylor Swift's doing today. And I'm like, why do you care? Or like, here's the coffee she drank today. Or like 5 years ago today, Taylor Swift was here. I'm like, you're insane. You are clinically insane. Like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah. I said my piece in the other podcast, so
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into it
Whatever.
again, but people are crazy.
People are weird.
What do you want? They're fucking crazy.
Yep.
And did I have something else?
Oh, because we were kind of shitting on Taylor Swift and stuff. I think you were going to say we're not shitting on David sending us the podcast. Or what?
No.
Whoa. Sending us the video. Because I was going to say that. I was like, thank you for sending the video.
No, that's
even
what
though
I
it gave
said.
me the creeps.
No, yeah. I mean, we got an email. I'm not going to complain about that.
Yeah.
And I don't mind reacting to stuff, so...
Yeah.
You know, it's just weird sometimes if you're reacting on the podcast, you don't know what something contains.
Yeah.
So
I know. I was like, oh, I hope it's not bad.
We can always cut it out. I don't think David would do that to us, but you just get nervous because you're like,
Yeah.
I don't want something crazy on the podcast.
Right.
But we reacted to it. Ackland reacted to us reacting to let us know how you felt about our reaction to Taylor Swift reacting to being broken up with by some random football player she's dating.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently, because I don't care about her life. In the way that I don't give a shit. Anyways, let's get to the movie we watched this week.
Now, this was...
With our new podcast out. People have been really receptive to the new podcast format with the movies. It's been really great. Our podcast about us is doing really well on YouTube, and people seem to really like it. So thank you for the feedback and the comments, and we really appreciate it. We've been really happy with the new change.
Yep. Yeah, and you know, people really liked that us reviewing a really critically acclaimed you know, artistic genius of a film. And so we decided to keep up with that this week, and so we are reviewing Transformers: Rise of the Beasts.
Yeah, so Victoria's been shitting on my movie pick.
Hey, whoa. I liked
it.
I liked it.
Yeah, but okay. Yeah,
I'm
you just shit on it, and it's fine. And so first of all, the movie this week is Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. It was directed by Stephen Caple Jr. I think is how you say that. Michael Bay was one of the producers, so he's still on the roster. I saw Steven Spielberg's name at the end. I don't know if he had a hand in anything or if he was just like part of the franchise and was chilling in Hawaii and just slapped his name on it. I don't know. But it was starring Anthony Ramos and Dominique Fishback. And the quick movie summary is Optimus Prime and the Autobots take on their biggest challenge yet. When a new threat capable of destroying the entire planet emerges, they must team up with a powerful faction of Transformers known as the Maximals to save Earth.
Yes. And now, I'm not shitting on the movie. It's just a funny contrast between us and then such an action-packed, like, blockbuster movie.
Well, here's the thing, is when we were looking for a movie to watch, and I was going through some movies, and I mentioned this kind of on the one of the earlier podcasts where I basically sometimes just want an easy movie that looks good, like just a basic blockbuster that's just going to follow all the rules and take you home, and it's not hard and it's just whatever.
Yep.
And sometimes I just really enjoy just not thinking about it too much and just like, hey, let's just sit and watch a movie. Like, it's not going to be political. It's not going to try and make me see this opinion or feel bad, or it's not going to try and whatever or be too artsy, or it's just going to be a movie I can get behind. So no big deal. And so that was part of my reason, was because I didn't expect anything from it.
Yep.
And I don't expect anything from those types of movies. And especially with like Transformers, just watching them transform is fucking sick. And I think that's the other thing where we differ is, as a guy, just seeing mindless fucking cool shit or like people fighting is enough.
Yeah.
You know, that's enough to be like, yeah, I had a good time.
Yeah.
You know, the movie can have shit dialogue, horrible plot, doesn't make sense. As long as there's enough action scenes, I'm good. And I think that's the thing also, like with the difference, like male and female, is like I can just sit and enjoy having, you know, action and cool shit and, you know, Transformers. Because, like, you know, men are more interested in things, girls are more interested in people. So, like, you know, your really artsy girl movies you were talking about, you know,
We
that's...
we just watched one. But
Well,
we won't reveal it. Oh,
well, at the end we'll reveal it. I didn't think that was a really artsy girl movie, but I'm not saying it wasn't, but I wouldn't have said that. Anyways, that was my idea going into it. And first things first, the CGI was fucking crazy.
It was really, really good. I was very impressed.
It was crazy. Like, they have it down.
It was so good.
Like, it was totally... And it's like the fifth one or whatever they've done of the Transformers so far. So not only do they have it all figured out, they weren't trying to insert it places just to be cool. It felt like it was all very continuous, you know, within the movie. And all the stuff that transformed just was so fluid, and like you kind of like know it's CGI, but I mean they're getting close to like photorealistic CGI shit. Like,
Oh, yeah.
it looked so amazing,
Yeah.
to be completely honest, in my opinion. And it really kind of surprised me how good it looked. And that was the first thing I noticed.
Yeah, I liked how it looked different than because I know that it was really popular at the time and it was like very visually striking, but I am not a huge fan of how the first Transformers was shot. With the blue and orange and like the
Yeah.
light like lens flares and stuff.
Yeah.
And like why were
None
they
of that.
always so sweaty? Like every
They
character was so just damp
It's
all
greasy,
the
the whole movie.
time. And it like there was just something about the vibe of it. I really enjoy that movie. It's a classic at this point, you know, but
Oh, yeah.
at the same time I was like, I hope that this one's a like different vibe, and it definitely felt different. Even though it's technically a prequel, I really liked the vibe of it. It didn't seem... There was honestly not that much in it that felt corny. I was really surprised.
Yeah. Well, and before we go any further, we do spoilers if this is your first
Yeah.
time. If you haven't seen the movie and you want to, before you know anything about it, go watch it and come back.
Yeah.
But we don't hold back on any spoilers. But yeah, I thought that I was expecting some corniness. It really... So one of the corniest things was that so there's the regular Autobots, and then there's these animal Autobots that just transform into humanoids from the animals. The gorilla did that once at the very end when they were fighting. The gorilla transformed into like a much more human-looking Cybertron. Yeah, and then just transformed it back into an animal. I don't think there's any cars involved with the Maximals.
Okay, so yeah, the Maximals are like they're aliens just like the normal Transformers, you know, but to hide their identities, like so the Transformers to hide the Autobots, I should say, to hide their identities transform into cars and like vehicles. But then the Maximals, which first of all their name is Maximals, which
That
is
was
so
corny
funny.
number one.
But the and the lead ape, his name was Optimus Primal, which that's
Optimus Primal.
But anyways, it made it better that he was named after Optimus Prime. I'm like, okay, then that I get it. You know,
That
it's
made
an
it
homage.
better, and by the 10th time they say it in the movie, you're kind of numb to it. The
Yeah.
first time you're like, Optimus fucking Primal?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? And then at the end you're like, yeah, it's Optimus Primal. He's got a
Yeah.
backstory. It's fine.
Yeah. So yeah, I was a little confused because I know that, yeah, so the Autobots masquerade as cars, but the Maximals are just animals. But yeah, I was confused. I was like, do they look different but they're masquerading as animals? but also
No, that's just
oh
what
yeah,
they
because they
are.
were that on their alien planet,
Yeah.
and so I'm like, okay, so you're telling me that aliens from a completely different world look identical to animals that are on Earth, and I'm like,
I'm with
what?
you. I'm with you. That because they're from a different planet than
We should
the
pull
Autobots.
up a picture of them.
They're-
They do look really cool, and the animation and like the CGI and stuff on them was awesome. Like, I'm definitely not taken away from that, but it was a little confusing. And like,
So this is Optimus Primal. He's
He's
just
a
a big
gorilla.
gorilla. Some of them have hair too. So like this
Yeah.
one kind of has some type of hair on it.
yeah,
There's a rhinoceros and then like a eagle, I think.
and in the whole movie, the cheetah had one line, and the rhino had no lines.
The
They were
rhino
just
did not
there.
speak.
But the gorilla and the hawk in the back both had a lot of like importance to the story, and I just felt really weird that like the rhino was just there. He didn't really do anything.
He just is another one of the things. I mean, and that's the thing where in order to buy into a movie, you have to be able to suspend your disbelief. It kind of makes sense that these machine aliens have they walk like humanoids kind of. 'Cause like that they're just bipedal and they look like us. I mean, it kind of makes sense, like as the form, like we have that form and these are just machines that have that form. But yeah, the whole like Africa, because they're all African animals. So it's like a planet of transforming metal aliens that all happen to be animals from Africa on this other planet in the universe. It was just like, okay,
Stretching real hard.
got it. Yeah, let's do that. That's
Yeah.
fine. And they didn't transform into anything else, except for Optimus Primal does. He did at the end of the movie.
I totally forgot about that.
So he transforms into like
Oh.
a dude,
Yeah.
like
okay.
this.
Yeah.
So again, this is probably his more, I wouldn't say natural state, because it seems like their animal state's the more natural state.
Well, because when they were on their home planet at the beginning of the movie, they were in their natural states, which were the animals.
Right.
So it's
Well, it's just there's just too much suspension of disbelief that has to happen, which again, the movie is to just do cool shit. It's not to be like a great story that really, changes life.
Yeah.
It's not Inception. It's just a fucking Transformers movie.
also
And that's fine.
I had a question about Mirage. So Mirage is one of the main I keep saying Transformers, Autobots in this movie, and he changes from I believe Corvette to a dump truck to a like jet, I think. And his whole thing is he can he makes illusions because his name's Mirage, and so there's like a point where a Porsche, not a Corvette, where he is trying to like get away from the police, and so he duplicates his like himself to like as a Mirage to like confuse the police and get away. But I'm confused because I'm like, is he the only one that can do that? Because Bumblebee is a different car in this movie than in the Shia LaBeouf 2007 one or whatever.
Right.
So can they change how they look?
Yeah.
Because then I have beef with Optimus Prime. Why the hell is he a semi truck? Like oh my god, it bugs me so much.
So there's a lot going on. That's like an hour's worth of
That was a lot
discussion
of stuff,
for
yeah.
all of those points that you just made.
You're right.
So first of all, these were just fucking toys, and then they made
Yeah.
movies around them, and they had to invent the lore that
Yeah.
goes with these transforming cars. And so you can only go at it so much because it's just a Hasbro toy that got made into a movie.
Yeah.
So that's where it comes from. And so you can kind of give them half of a pass for that because it's whatever, and it kind of makes sense. So that's the first thing. Second thing, it seems like from all of the movies that they can transform into different cars. I think even in the first or second one, I think because Bumblebee starts out as kind of a shitty car, and then he's like, come on, and then he turns into like a really fucking badass Ferrari or something.
Shit, he does?
Yeah, I think so. I think, or at least in one of the movies, I think that happens where he's like not that cool of a car and then transforms, because their whole thing is to stay incognito per Optimus Prime. So I think that has something to do with it, but it seems like whatever metal that they have on their body, their spark is like what's important. And like they can switch out the metal to make different cars and or transform into slightly different cars if they want. That seems to be it would be like basically a soft magic system for the story. So yeah, it kind of makes sense that they can kind of change. But I think they can. So that's that part.
Yeah, my interpretation from like the beginning of Transformers is they're made of metal, but like not in the same way that we have metal.
Right.
You know, like
yeah.
they're like able to move it and change it, and like it's
Definitely.
like different, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's part of the thing is like, I know sometimes I'm like this. I'm almost positive you're like this. Is like you kind of, if it doesn't automatically make perfect sense, you want to like know. It's like, and I think I've gotten better at like being like, oh, so they can do this, it's fine. Unless it's like a huge plot hole that just doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. So like with Mirage being able to like make copies of himself, you know, it's like, sure, why not? He can do that. And it doesn't like change anything dramatically or create a huge plot hole. So like, fuck it.
His name's Mirage, like, of course.
Yeah.
And there had to be a way for the scene, the cop like police chase scene didn't feel like there was another way out of that situation for him. So they had to make up something to get him out of there.
Well, and he transformed in front of the other people when he like did that cool turnaround scene.
Yeah.
Which you're not supposed to do. You got to stay incognito. So I'm sure. But it made sense with the character though, because he kind of didn't give a fuck.
Oh no.
Mirage was voiced by Pete Davidson too. Did you know that? I was just looking up some stuff. You're supposed to drink it, not breathe it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's
you got to get it down the right tube.
Oh my god. I'm fine.
Yeah, so Mirage was Pete Davidson. Did you know that?
No.
Well,
I feel like I would have recognized his voice, but
I did not recognize it as Pete Davidson. I'm not a Pete Davidson fan. I get bad vibes from him. I think he's kind of a dick, but he did a great job. I really enjoyed that character.
Yeah, him and Timothy Chalamet have a very similar vibe to me, where they're kind of off-putting.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Everyone's like, I love them. There's something about them where I'm like, I feel like they're an asshole in person.
I don't know about Timothy Chalamet because I didn't, but Pete Davidson just, I don't know about that guy.
As a girl on the internet, it's hard to not see Timothy Chalamet everything all the time.
Ugh.
Because like the algorithm picks up that you're a girl and they're like, this is what other girls like. And it's mainly Timothy Chalamet.
Huh.
But yeah.
Well, so I was expecting, so Victoria was not excited about this movie, and but I was like, just give it a shot, let's just watch it, it's whatever. And so even after the movie she was like, so what are we actually going to do for the podcast? And I was like, that was my pick, what are you talking about? But it's like, I think Transformers, I noticed in the comments on one of the trailers, a lot of people there's a huge fan base for Transformers. A lot of people really like the movies, and I noticed in this one, I don't know about all the other ones, but in this one, the plot was like super formulaic. Act 1, get introduced, quirky. Act 2, develop the problem. We feel like we can't go any further. Act 3, bring it home. Everybody is great. I mean, it was just super by the book, super easy to follow, but I did kind of notice that there were a couple things that they did that were like slightly different in like a new kind of way. And so I thought that was pretty cool. Like, for instance, at the end, he and the two main characters, the one guy who's like really in with Mirage, and then the girl who's like the scientist person, archaeologist, Palin, who cares? She and him didn't get together. Like, you know, most movies would just put them together and make it a love story, and it wasn't a love story. But they were fond of each other and they liked each other. But they didn't get together. And then at the end, she goes on and takes the stuff that they kind of got throughout their journey and then uses it to help boost her career. And he's like super happy for her. And I just thought it was super cool and honestly pretty realistic, you know, like, it was different because it's like you just expect, oh, the guy, the girl, this is fine, whatever. But that didn't happen. So, and then, yeah, besides the Optimus Primal and the whatever else, the Maximals, just the names. Besides that, there wasn't a lot that was too corny, and I thought there were a ton of good jokes. Like I was laughing.
Yeah,
for
there
a
were
lot
some
of the
pretty
movie.
good ones. The main actor, he was really good. He had really good like comedic timing.
Anthony Ramos was really good.
Yeah. I was gonna say the evil planet, I think, was called Unicron though. And
The Unicron was the...
I was like, it sounds too close to unicorn. I'm sorry. But I just kept, yeah. But yeah, it was good for what it is, you know? Like I'm not a huge, just like action person. I mean, I can get into it and it's fine. But I'm definitely, I don't know. I'm just you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the difference I was talking about is like there's stuff like that I like just cuz it's easy and it's fun and that's what I'm expecting from it. And I wasn't expecting this movie to be anything special at all, and I felt like it was better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah,
probably
it
because
definitely
my
was.
expectations were fairly low. And there wasn't, I would say, there wasn't anything super memorable about the movie. Like, there's not anything that was like, oh, it was crazy when this happened. I mean, it's the same story. It was just a reiteration of the basic hero's journey with like a couple slight changes, like barely. And they just did it. I feel like for what it was, they just did it really, really, really well. It was just very polished, especially because again, it's like I don't know how many of the Transformers movies now, and this is like the next one in the line. So I just thought that they did a good job with what they had. Granted, I do think some like with the Maximals and whatever and the Unicron, I think part of it, I don't know if it's like intentionally comic book-ish type of stuff where it kind of sounds dumb, but you buy into it because that's how I feel about comic book stuff anyway. But or if it's intended more for a younger audience and for kids, I think it's PG-13, but
Yeah, I think it had
you
some
know.
like curse words and stuff in it.
I was also curious what it did at the box office. Because that's the other thing is with these movies, I was a little. What did it? Sweet box office.
Wasn't it right there?
Yeah, but you need to know how much the budget was for it to make sense.
195 to 200 million.
So about maybe 200 million is what it made. So this one apparently was, so yeah, they said because of it made about 200 million, which net after budget. But yeah, definitely considered a financial disappointment and the lowest grossing installment in the franchise.
I'm shocked. No, I'm kidding.
So yeah, they got more movies coming. And so here's the thing with these. I wonder if these are just basically supposed to be like China movies and just like to have a huge, because like for people who don't know, there's only I think 10 movies that aren't made in China that are allowed to be shown in China every year. So they only take 10 movies and they have to be, they can't be anti-China. They can't have black people usually. If you look at the Star Wars posters, they like either shrunk or just completely removed Finn because he was black from the Chinese posters. So
Love that.
just, Disney doesn't give a shit about anybody, even if they pretend they do. But so China only takes a certain amount of movies. And so companies will make movies to try to pitch them to China because the Chinese marketplace is a huge market.
Yeah.
And so if you score one of those 10 foreign slots for China, you're raking in a decent amount of money. And so since I learned that, I don't know how long ago, I'll watch. And there are some movies where I noticed in this movie with Transformers, either the writing was just plainly poor, it was just bad, or some of the jokes and some of the other stuff are like not exactly what you would say in English or slang English, and they're kind of like easily translatable, easily ported to another language so that it makes sense in the broadest way possible and still funny, because they just want to shove cool transforming shit into as many languages as possible and make as much money as possible.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what they did. I don't know.
The
But
two main characters were black or mixed, so
that's a good point. So this
Probably
one
not.
I don't know, but he also was a pretty light skinned. He could be mixed, he could be black. He's definitely Hispanic because of his name. I'm almost positive he is. And he spoke a little Spanish in the movie when they were in Peru. They had a weird racist joke that didn't really land about that. But his name is Ramos, so I think he's Hispanic.
yeah.
But I did notice he was kind of like in the middle of everything, kind of. He
Yeah.
wasn't quite like
he
wasn't
very
super
ambiguous to a normal viewer. Yeah.
which again, that only matters if they're trying to push it to like China or anything like that, because again, they're pretty racist in China still, from what I understand.
I'm really curious, like the movie list for China from like last year or something.
2023. Okay. So I don't know how long ago this was. Okay, I got between 34 and 39 foreign films released in China in 2023. So they just, everything's censored. They're not allowed to just go watch any movie. They're not allowed.
Hollywood.
They're not allowed in the country.
Relies on China to stay afloat.
Well, and that's the thing, is these companies want to make movies that can be put in China because in order to, which one?
They're the same. NPR and WUSF.
I
They're
bet
literally the same.
I bet they were just trying to rip off this title so they'd rank in search. They're just trying to copy NPR.
Yeah.
Or it's just the same article written by the same person.
Yeah. Well, I thought that there might be like lists, but I don't know if people really care about that.
Well, I don't know.
Wait, go back.
I don't know how it works. Oh, as your boy Timothy mentioned.
No.
I thought I saw
Scroll
his
down.
name.
Scroll down. Oh shit! Scroll down. I think. Keep going.
So this is an interview, and this is why I was saying this. Okay, so the
Is it that Transformers movie that we just watched, or? Oh, uh, okay. So
Okay,
Age of
so
Extinction.
we so this article, I think we can link this article in the podcast.
Uh-huh.
This is more information on China and Hollywood's relationship and what that means for movies. I'm going to do my best to link this in the YouTube description and the podcast description, but we just found this, so not going to fully endorse it or anything, but we saw it twice, so it might be good. But this one says, somebody asked, so did that Transformers film do well in China? And they said it was a massive success, and it ended up making more money than every previous installment. I think critically for the producers at Paramount Pictures, which released the film, it helped them really report really robust quarterly results. So it was an example of how a lot of studios started operating on this quarter-by-quarter basis because the studios became these smaller fish in these larger corporate ponds.
Yeah, and that's for not the movie that we watched, the one before this one.
Was it?
Yeah,
So-
the fourth one, Age of Extinction, apparently.
Yep. And so that's one thing that I had learned and that I kind of knew was if there's a movie that seems to do well or had a decent box office or XYZ or whatever and it doesn't make sense, it might have just been a movie made for China.
Yeah.
You gotta, because they're not gonna not release it here and just put it in China, but that's what they do, and that's why I was saying some of those jokes where they kind of sound a little weird.
Yeah.
They're trying to translate it
really
into
weird.
Chinese to make Chinese money,
It's so weird.
and so it's crazy. And you guys should read this article. I might read this article if you're interested in that, because the censorship is so high in China that in order. I don't know exactly. Maybe we shouldn't look it up, but I know they're kind of partial on black people. I'm pretty sure. That's one of them.
Or maybe in the past for a while. Maybe things have
that
evolved.
Star Wars movie came out like 5 years ago.
Oh, that is true.
And they
That
just
is
did
true.
that. That's just part of their culture over there. That there's no black people for millions of miles. Like
Yeah.
they just, what are they supposed to do? Not an excuse to be fucking racist, but that's they're all stuck in a communist country too. I mean, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But that's part of their culture that I know for sure is or was a thing. But I don't know what else that they would censor exactly, but not everything makes it in. And culturally different, they're just gonna like different things than us because they have a different culture. And again, I mentioned this in the podcast with Hunter, but like the history of Eastern culture and Western culture is very different.
Yeah.
And Eastern culture tends to focus more on the society as a whole and playing your part in that society, and the Western culture focuses on individuality.
Yeah.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg of like cultural differences between the two regions, but they're very different. And so I'm sure they like different things and think different things about it. And I knew I was going to bring this up, but we also watched another movie that Victoria didn't want to do. And this one was it White Snake?
Yeah. It wasn't that I didn't want to do it. It's just we didn't agree to make that the movie. And
We
then
didn't.
Afterwards, I was like, there's not much to talk about from this movie.
Well, we didn't, but so we watched this movie called White Snake. It's an animated movie. I don't think it's rated. It's from China. It's not rated. Yeah. So it's supposed to be kind of like a family movie. There are a couple parts where I don't think I'd let a kid watch it necessarily.
Yeah.
Like definitely. So it's almost like it was in between PG and PG-13 sort of somehow. But this movie was from China and revoiced for English. But it was made in China, and I thought it was definitely interesting the amount of different things that this movie had, and it was totally not anything you'd see from the West. The West couldn't even pretend to make something like this up because some of the themes and some of the cultural things that they did were like just so different and definitely Eastern. In this movie, White Snake, they're all demons, and they're like they can transform between snakes and people. The demons can. and the guy is a human, and he falls in love with the snake demon and wants to be with her, and that's kind of the basic premise.
Yeah. And they're not the snake demons and stuff aren't like really vilified or anything. They're vilified by the people who you're supposed to think are bad.
Right,
Like
yeah.
they don't paint the quote unquote demons in like a really negative light or anything. Which I thought was pretty cool, and
She
would
was so
never fucking happen here. Yeah, the Kitsune demon was sick.
She was so cool.
Yeah. Oh man, she was awesome. She
This
was my
chick was
favorite.
she was the best character in the whole thing, I thought. She was super, super cool.
Yeah,
and like
she-
these minions would never be
Oh,
stylized like
no.
that in the West. There was just so many things, and then at the end, the okay, spoilers for White Snake. At the end, the guy, he found out how to be a demon, then he ends up dying. He ends up finally dying, but like the White Snake main demon, she like catches his soul somehow, and then he gets to reincarnate, and then it's like 500 years later after he's done like a few reincarnations, and then she finds him again, and just nobody in the West would do that. I would not. I don't. And it's animated. The animation was really good. In this one. But yeah, it was just, I almost didn't even know what to think of it at first because it wasn't a Western movie.
Yeah,
It just wasn't.
You could tell the tone was definitely different. But yeah, she was so cool. She had like she was really quirky and weird. The like Kitsune demon, but she like was normal on the front and had her little cat ears, which they looked like cat ears. And then her whole head turns around to a kitsune, or fox. Like it's so crazy, and it's like kind of freaky. Like she can like turn from one to the other, and it's like it's a little morbid. And so yeah, again, not very like children friendly, at least in America. Like that would probably be pretty disturbing too.
The Fox Demon might. I thought for a kids movie, they got really saucy that one time.
Yeah, that part. Yeah.
That was, and that like just for kids, it was like that's.
Yeah.
I don't know about
that
for
part,
kids.
yeah,
but,
but who knows?
the
Maybe it's different. I don't know.
It could be what they expect, and what's fine could be different over there. I mean, who knows? This could also be a movie that they made over there to try and get into the American market because it's on. It's
Could be that
got a
like,
good translation
Americans
and whatever.
Are weird, like what? I don't even know what I'm trying to say. But yeah, it was good. I liked it. It was a pretty simple story. It kind of was lacking in some places, I feel like, but that could just be a translation thing. I don't want to assume too much because some of the dialogue was pretty bland, but I think that's because it was translated. You just can't convey the same thing, just like how you can't convey the same thing from English to a different language. Like you'll get the general gist, but some of the dialogue was just like you could tell it was like very clearly translated and like just kind of like simple. You were like, okay.
Yeah, kind of simple, kind of plain, and it probably culturally was more slang at first, made more sense. And one thing that they did in White Snake, they kept saying, "Remember the other day when you said this?" And I just kept thinking, I was like, I wonder if that's like 2 words in China, and everybody says that all the time, you know? And it's like kind of like a prefix or like, I don't know. It was just, it seemed like they kept doing that. And I was like, this has to be a cultural thing that I'm not used to.
Yeah.
But I thought the plot was okay. It was pretty easy to follow. It wasn't like anything crazy. I think the only thing that was really notable about it was that it was just refreshing because it wasn't a super basic hero's journey, act 3 act, whatever, like this Transformers movie
Very
was.
visually striking too. The art style was awesome. And a lot of the like superpowers and stuff that the demons had, plus the Taoists, it was really cool. But I was gonna say something and I can't remember.
Oh no.
Oh, their romance felt really weird. The two main characters, the demon and the
Whitesnake.
human. Yeah.
Yeah.
It seemed very rushed and like they were so in love after what seemed like literally like a couple days. It was really weird. I was like, and it's not that you can't feel that strongly for someone after a couple days. It was just more so like,
he's willing to go become a demon for her.
Yeah, but like that part didn't feel warranted. I'm like what? Like it kind of reminded me of Hercules. When when Hercules is willing to like go to the underworld and everything, and it made more sense because it's like him and Meg like established their romance and like relationship, and like it made more sense, even though it wasn't really that long or anything. But in this one it felt really rushed, and I was like, you're gonna go sell your soul for her? Like this does not feel warranted.
No, I totally agree with that. They could have, if they showed like a little bit more time passing of them on their journey together and having time to like get to know each other better, or have like just a few more experiences together to be like, you know, oh, they spent this time together, they were good to each other, they understand each other, they have a common thread, they're on the same page about this. It would have made a little more sense, but yeah, it was just kind of assumed after a while that he just loves her, kind of.
Yeah, it
which
was
is just kind of like, all right, you know.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting. But yeah, overall, I think that the lack of story, the visuals in that one definitely made up for it. It was really nice and refreshing.
Well, I would say, ironically, that Whitesnake and Transformers: Rise of the Beasts, the animation really saves them.
Yeah.
You know?
The one thing about Transformers that I wanted to talk about that was kind of funny.
Look, you can lay into this movie if you want. I'm fine with that.
Honestly, it was fine. Like I didn't really have too many problems with it. I did like the scenes in, where were they? Shoot.
Peru,
yeah. I really liked those scenes. They felt very authentic. I liked that there was a festival going on. It did seem, it felt surprisingly accurate. I was like, oh shit, like, you know, it seemed like they actually took the time to be like, what is the general culture in Peru? You know, obviously I've never been, so I'm not gonna be over here like it was identical, but I just like that it wasn't, because I feel like it reminds me of, or I was worried that it was going to be like when a movie travels to the Middle East and it's just fucking desert and all the people are like in fucking like scarves and shit, and they're like the bad guys and stuff, and it's the music's like like, you know, and you're just like, oh my god, guys, there is more to the Middle East than fucking desert, okay? Like it's just like every single time. And so I was like, I really hope that they like don't make it too like out of touch, you know? But anyways,
well, and the other thing about that was, I don't know if they were self-conscious about it or what, but there was an Autobot that had been living in Peru or whatever. And so of course all the Transformers speak English, right? And that's kind of the thing about aliens in movies is, do they speak English? Do they not? How are we going to explain it if they don't, or if they do, or whatever? Yeah. But of course, all the Transformers, the Autobots that we met in New York in the first half of the movie just speak perfect English, and they all have North American accents. Fine. And then, of course, Pete Davidson's Mirage is like super hip, super slang, super cool, whatever. And then we go to Peru, and then there's another Transformer down here who just has a Peruvian accent with his English. Yeah. And then the main character, the human, runs up and he's like, yo, what's up? Like, you speak any Spanish? Like, and he tries to speak some Spanish to him. And then this guy speaking English with a Peruvian accent, this Autobot, was just like, no, I don't speak Spanish. Like, stop being racist. And it was just
it was a really weird joke. It did not hit.
It like, and I was like, you could have just made this Transformer have a Peruvian accent and speak
And
English
yeah.
and not explain it, and it would have been fine.
Yeah.
It doesn't fucking
Or you could have had
matter.
him speak Spanish. That would have been cool too. But that weird in between was really weird.
And I just wonder if they were like trying to be funny, or if they were like, I could just see them being like, okay, so if they go to Peru and they find another
gotta be
Autobot,
woke.
does he speak English? Does he speak Spanish? Does he, like, how do we figure this out? And like, how do we reconcile the two? And like, what do we do? Like, I could just see them being like, the continuity has to be there. I don't know. It just didn't work. That part was just kind of lame, but
I felt like, sorry, I gotta check the camera. I felt like when I adjusted my glasses, I like fucked everything up, but we're okay. I still look good.
you always look good, baby.
Oh, thank you. But the part that really got me, besides that, which, yeah, that was weird. It felt like they were trying to be like woke, but like,
Yeah.
like in like a sassy way. And it's like you, the script writer, were like, I'm gonna write again, hypothetically, I'm gonna write a racist comment and then call myself out for being racist. It's like, it's so weird, you know? And it just didn't hit.
work. I mean, it wasn't even racist.
It wasn't.
It was just all bad. Like,
It was
that
like-
was probably the worst thing in the movie.
Yeah, he has an accent. So of course he's like, you don't just get that accent. You like, anyways, it doesn't matter. It
was
really
dumb.
doesn't. It was weird.
Fucking dumb.
But
they could have just not had it.
The only, the main other thing that really got me was at the very, very end. I know that they're trying to make like a Transformers cinematic universe or some shit. A Hasbro cinematic universe.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
But so at the end, the main character goes to a job interview because that was like his whole thing, is he needed money. That's like how he got into this whole situation, is he was trying to steal the car that ended up being Mirage. And so he goes to get this job, and he sits down with you assume the manager or whatever of the place, and they start talking, and then the main character mentions like he was traveling for a while and everything, and then the like manager goes, oh yeah, like, did you like Peruvian food? And the main character was like, I didn't say I went to Peru. And then he was like, I know who you are, like, I'm part of a secret organization, blah blah blah. And I was like, oh shit, is this like just gonna open up a new thing in the Transformers universe, that there's like a secret agency, you know, that like does this shit, like, you know, knows about Transformers and like knows about all this evil shit and everything. But then they like, I totally forgot that they were in like a normal building, and then it opened up into this like giant government facility, like one of the walls just lifted, and but the manager hands main character dude a business card, and when he flips it over, it says G.I. Joe on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, you're kidding. I was like, absolutely not. Like, there was just something about that that did it for me. I was like, if this movie ended 5 seconds earlier, I would have been great. But
why was it so bad?
It's corny. I hate it. It's a cash grab, and I hate it. It's like Transformers, I get it. Like, I don't know. I've felt weird about, like, it was kind of like how in the 80s they started making a bunch of kids TV shows based on toys to sell more toys, and it's like kind of fucked up and weird. And it just reminds me of that. I'm like, let's get an original idea in the house. Like, come on. But I know that it's not writers' faults. It's the fact that these like production companies, like, they want to make the most money possible, and they know that sequels, remakes, cash grabs, you know, whatever, are what's going to make them the most money. And so you bring them an original idea, and it's very hard to get it approved. So I get it. It just like, it felt weird to me. I was just like, oh my God. And of course, the fucking propaganda of like secret government organizations being like cool and badass. It's like, no, they're fucked up. Like, I'm so tired of it. They did it in Marvel. They've done it in DC. They've done it in every action movie, whatever, that like secret government organizations are a good thing. Or in like James Bond is another great one. It's like, no, they're not cool. They're nefarious and they're bad. Like,
Because of our previous podcast, everyone knows I agree with you.
Yeah, everyone does. But yeah, it's like the more you pick up on it, the more, because it's not just that a lot of these movies are like pro-military and pro-America and stuff, because obviously Transformers surprisingly wasn't, probably because it's supposed to be good in China.
Yeah.
And so they're not going to push America that much. But like a lot of these movies, the more you look, the more you realize like, oh, they're military, America, secret agency propaganda. Like especially the Avengers, with S.H.I.E.L.D. or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I think that's what it's called. Yeah, that
Samuel
always.
L. Jackson runs it or whatever.
Oh yeah. And it's like this little like agency and stuff, and they fight against what they. I didn't watch enough of those movies to really understand, so I'm not going to try to explain. I loved Endgame, loved Infinity War, loved the first Iron Man. That's about it. I just it felt that the secret organizations being glorified thing, that wasn't as big of a thing. I was just like, oh, here's another one. But yeah, it was mainly it felt so corny. I was like,
I never
so weird.
played with G.I. Joes or Transformers for that matter.
Yeah.
I think as far as like a reveal within a franchise of like that type of thing, it was like total rip from Marvel. Just
It
all
felt
the stuff
so
that
Marvel.
they do.
Yeah.
Because of the way my brain works, when he went to that job interview, he went to an elevator and went underground. So all of that was deep underground.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
so
you're right.
I don't know if that makes any
sense.
type of difference, but they were in some office way underground, and that's why that was all behind there and whatever. So
Yeah.
I didn't have the same reaction to it. But yeah, I mean, Transformers is like, it's kind of cool. It's whatever. So maybe they could find a way to make G.I. Joe not corny. That was, thinking back to my childhood, that's probably one of the corniest toys that was out there.
really
was fucking
corny.
G.I. Joe. So good luck, guys. But also look at you. You said you didn't have much to say, and you just
I've got a lot to say.
went
apparently.
off on a rip.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was gonna say we did talk about it a little bit because Hasbro, the toy company, just bought Wizards of the Coast and Magic the Gathering.
They've owned them for a little bit now.
Yeah. It's in the lifespan of Magic, it's pretty recent. But
and it hasn't been great.
No, it has not.
Well, and here's the 411 real quick before you complain about or explain whatever you're going to say, which I think I know part of it at least. But with Hasbro, the only reason I really know this, I'm sure a lot of other companies are going through this or whatever, but at Hasbro, apparently their shareholders are really, really breathing down the necks of the people at Hasbro to make them more and more money. And from all the stuff that I would hear and learn about Magic the Gathering, it just seemed like it was like they weren't cool with just being like, hey, we had another good year. It was like, this IP needs to make more money. And okay, here was the deal. Here was the deal with it. And it has to do with the fact that we have tablet kids now. We have kids in strollers rolling around, and they have fucking iPads. They don't have plastic toys anymore. And so the toy market has gone way down from like when I was a kid. You go into Toys R Us and it's like crazy.
Yeah.
Do you ever remember on Nickelodeon they would do those things where you get like a minute to run through the store and grab as much as you can take with you, and you get to keep all of it by the time you're done.
Yeah.
And like toys and toys and games to play when you were a child is been around since they were kids. I mean, that's how it goes. And it's not like it's going anywhere. It just turned into tablets now.
Yeah.
And so Hasbro is having a huge problem because they're not making toy money like they used to. And what they're doing is they're pressuring all the IPs they have that are doing something to make up for the rest of it. So like Wizards of the Coast and Magic the Gathering has been doing some fucking ridiculous dumb shit to make more money, and it's ruining the game. I know people who've quit playing because of it.
Yeah.
And I don't know them, but I listen to their podcast. Shout out Cantrip Cartel. But also Transformers with their movies, that's Hasbro. G.I. Joe, they're probably just trying to expand and continue to make, because with shareholders, if anyone remembers, right after COVID was kind of over, all the gas prices shot up a bunch. If anyone remembers that, I looked it up because I was like, what's going on? Everybody was kind of talking conspiracy stuff. And apparently the price of oil had dropped to below zero for a barrel during COVID because people weren't traveling. And so after COVID, the shareholders were breathing down the necks of these oil companies and were basically like, we need to make up for the money we didn't make during COVID. You need to charge people more to make up. And I'm just like,
Too
dude.
fucking bad. That's part of business. That pisses me off.
So they all
much.
did it. And who are these shadowy shareholders pressuring all these companies to do fucked up shit to the public? I mean, it's like, it's fucking crazy.
How are they? I want to know how they're pressuring them. You
Yeah,
know,
how does that
what,
work?
Are they threatening them? Are they like? I don't know how you go. Like, how do you motivate companies to like basically ruin their reputation? Because that's kind of what's happening. I will say that with Magic and Wizards of the Coast, there have been. You can tell that they have more money to use. It's when the sets are good, they are so good, and you can tell that they can really like hire a lot of artists. There's a lot of creativity that goes into their sets. But then you get like a Doctor Who crossover, and
They've
it's
done
like,
a
what the fuck
Fortnite
are we doing?
crossover. They've done tons.
They've done a Transformers crossover.
They did a Transformers crossover, and it's like, which is still Hasbro, but they've done other not Hasbro IP crossovers, and it's like, this is not the game.
No.
This is not what this game is. This game is high fantasy. This game is its own universe, and inserting all of these random fucking IPs in order to bring new people into Magic and do all this shit, it's so ugly. It's
okay,
so bad.
that's how I felt. That's exactly how I felt when G.I. Joe was the organization at the end. I was just like, ew.
Yeah.
Gross. This is totally discrediting the coolness of the Transformers franchise. I was like, I'm down for Transformers. I know they were formerly a toy and now it's movies, but they're one of the cases where kind of like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, where the movies and the show and everything like did eons better than the toys, and they actually made like something cool and like good, like a good story, you know. And
were they toys first?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. Oh shit. I'm pretty sure.
I don't know why that logically doesn't make sense to me, but sure.
It happens all the time, like, or it used to happen more. And yeah. We might want to fact check that because I'm not really sure, but I feel like I remember that. But you know, that was one where they actually did it, and it was proven, you know, like, hey, we can do this, and this is actually a really cool idea as a movie, more so than toys, you know. But G.I. Joes, I'm like, they're just fucking soldiers. Who gives a fuck? Okay, so that one, the show came before. Okay, yeah.
It looks like the show came before.
Okay. And then, so yeah, with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the show came before the toys. My mistake. And then
maybe comic book very first.
Oh,
yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I don't know about Transformers, but that's how it felt. Is kind of the crossovers that Magic does, where I'm like, you just ruined the whole thing for me. You know, it doesn't feel like it fits. Even though technically they're under the same company umbrella, it just feels gross. Okay, yeah. So comics. So it seems like it's normally comics and then toys.
Looks like it was adopted from similar Japanese toys. Then it became a comic to kind of go with it, because that happens a lot, like where it's like either a toy or a comic book or a TV show, and then the others kind of just get made because that's what people want.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, essentially the concept for Transformers came before any movies were made. But obviously no shit, but like, you know what I mean. It was a franchise for a long time, kind of like Marvel, you know, like Captain America was a thing for decades before the movies came out.
Oh yeah.
But all of that to say, I have a little glimmer of hope because Hasbro owns Magic the Gathering now. And I have said for a very long time that I would love to see some Magic the Gathering movies. That is one of the only franchises where I'm like, I want to see this because the story building that Wizards of the Coast has done is phenomenal. And especially Phyrexia, I would love to see Transformer budget level and like CGI for Phyrexians. That would be so sick. But at the same time, that they wouldn't completely follow the source material, and it'd probably get kind of weird because that's what companies do. Is they're like,
Well, first of all, it says 1999 is when Hasbro bought Wizards of the Coast. So it's been in the hands of Wizards of the Coast or of Hasbro for a long time.
Well, then why are people bitching about it now?
Because of the weird crossover shit now.
Oh,
okay. Because tablet kids are taking over and toys are going away. Like in the traditional sense.
So Hasbro acquired the company in 1999 and had it run as a subsidiary, a separate legal entity. So I think maybe they so
in this one.
Yeah, Wizards of the Coast was announced to become one of the 3 new divisions of Hasbro. So I think in 2021 or whatever, they like gained more control over it. Not gained more control, but decided to take more control of it. And that's why people got really upset.
Right. Yeah. Because it was more of a recent thing, and I think from what I know about watching Magic content and doing stuff, it seems like Wizards of the Coast and Magic the Gathering are like kind of carrying Hasbro right now.
Oh yeah.
Which is why they're doing so much stuff to it to try and make more money, because it's like one of the only things that's making a decent amount of their money right now.
Yeah.
From what I understand.
I know we've given them lots of money.
Yeah. Well, and they do a good job for the most part, but the weird crossovers that they're doing, the thing is like, and I like what you said about doing something original instead of, because like, I think everybody was like, kind of like, whatever with the Marvel movies, and then by the time I got to Infinity War and Endgame, people were like, okay. I think normal people who weren't comic book people, yeah, fuck you comic book people. I think normal people by that point were like
normal sane people.
Yeah, they were like, actually this is kind of fucking sick, you know?
Well, and they worked, you could tell like they cared about the story and everything. They
did a really good job with it. And I think so that's the thing is like, because they did so well, now everybody's trying to be fucking Marvel and do fucking superhero bullshit, and it's fucking annoying. And not only that, but so if you watch the new the Rise of the Beasts, it feels like a Marvel dump with the end scene with the G.I. Joe insert. It feels exactly like a rehash of any of the countless fucking Marvel movies.
Yeah. Well, and when Marvel did it the first couple times, it was cool. It was like, because crossovers like that weren't really happening. Like, you had a lot of the DC movies and they didn't really link together until Justice League. But it felt like Superman and Batman were taking place in 2 completely different worlds. Like, and so once Marvel kind of alluded in some of their movies at the end normally to another character that like you were like, oh shit, they're in the same universe, and then it kept going into this whole big like crescendo at the end. That was cool because it didn't really feel like that had been done before in that way, and they had that story planned for so long.
Yeah,
and it you could
well thought out.
You could tell. And I'm not like the biggest superhero movie person or anything, but like those last 2 movies made me fucking emotional because
Infinity
I had
War.
watched almost all of I don't remember a lot of the plots from a lot of the movies, but because I was a teenager at the time when most of those movies were coming out and you wanted to go into the theaters and just watch a movie because you wanted to get out of the house, whatever. Like I watched almost all of them. And I remember seeing the first Iron Man in theaters and I was like, this is this is one of the best movies I've ever seen. I don't even know how old I was pretty young, but like to be like, I was there for the beginning and I was there for the end. Like it got me emotional because you could tell that they really worked hard on it. And so I just really don't like when companies like try to do that when it's so clear that like they don't give a shit about it, like at all. Like it's they're just like, let's put another one of our like toy brands we own in there. I'm sure people will like that. And it's like, no, people aren't stupid. They can tell the difference. Like they can tell when you're just putting something in there as a cash grab. Like, ugh. And yeah, they're so fucking boring. They're like just soldiers.
Oh, they already had a G.I. Joe movie come out.
Yeah.
In 2009.
Now that I'm seeing the movie posters, I'm like, oh yeah, they already did that.
They had 2009, 2013, 2021.
Jesus.
So the next one looks like the Ever Vigilant is the next one.
Oh my god.
Whatever. Yeah. Look at that cast. Jeez. Yeah, I forgot that they had movies come out.
Yeah.
I've never seen any of them, but
No. I'm not a fan of like, as you can tell, just kind of my reaction to even this Transformers movie. Like, I enjoyed it a lot more than, oh god, crossovers just fucking, I hate them. 9 times out of 10, crossovers suck. I don't know why this keeps happening. I feel like I'm in like the Twilight Zone where just my worst nightmare is just over and over and over again. Crossover, remake. I'm like, I am over it.
So there was a crossover between Transformers and G.I. Joe in 1987 in the comics. So they might be pulling from that for the new movie. Is what the two franchises need.
Oh my god.
I just so here's, and this kind of brings me back to, we could talk about little stuff in the movie for a while because there were little points here and there, but I think what I wanted from the movie was to sit down, watch some cool shit for an hour and a half, and be done with it.
Yeah.
And just, I think, it did that. But I think it did it pretty well, and like we both said or whatever, we were a little surprised that it was as good as it was, which isn't saying a lot though, because I think the only sin here is that there was nothing to care about in the way of like, you know, Mirage was a cool character. That was it. I think that was...
Except for Bumblebee. I love Bumblebee.
Bumblebee's
I've always loved
good.
Bumblebee.
He spent half the movie dead, though.
He did. It was kind of sad.
And then just came back. The
Well,
other
and there
thing
were-
was there's no stakes.
there
Bumblebee
were-
died and came back.
Yeah, and we
Mirage
all
died
know
and
that
came back.
because it's a prequel. And so when Bumblebee got stabbed, we were like, yeah, so what? He's in the one with Shia LaBeouf, though. Like,
Yeah,
he
it's like-
comes back. It, like, wasn't... If it was, like, you know... yeah, it just because it was a prequel, it didn't matter. I was like, okay, well, he's gonna come back somehow.
Yeah.
But I love Bumblebee. I think he's very cute, and the fact that full circle, one of his lines, because he like takes lines from movies and radio and stuff. Full circle, one of his lines at the very end in the big battle scene was "I'm here to kick some ass," and it was from They Live,
Which we
the
just
movie we
did.
just watched. The one that I'm here to kick some ass and chew some bubble gum, and I'm all out of bubble gum. It just cut off with "I'm here to kick some ass," and we were like, we looked at each other and we were like,
Wait a second.
wait, that
We just
that was
watched
from
that
They
movie.
Live.
And it was, that was crazy. So that part
Yeah.
was really cool.
it was. Yeah,
Well, and Bumblebee's character is really cool. I thought Mirage was really cool, too.
I like Mirage.
He had some really cool lines.
Yeah. Optimus Prime has annoyed me from the beginning. I'm not a fan. He seems so. He's not even like a ancient wise leader like Yoda or like Gandalf or something. He's just fucking boring. It's so mean, but he's boring, and he's just
kind of boring. He's kind of a hard ass.
He's bland.
But yeah, I think that while this movie was fun to a certain extent, again, there weren't like plot holes or whatever to take you out of it to the point where you're like, what am I watching right now? Like, I can't do this. It was engaging. It was fun. It was pretty hollow too. I mean, it's in a weird, in my mind, I kind of put it in some weird middle position between like the characters had stories. You did kind of care about these characters to a certain extent, at least the humans. But and kind of the Maximals too, because of their homeworld story and everything and whatever. But it just didn't have anything that really was like, oh wow, there's something. It was just like, if you do something really well, which they did, I feel like they really did, it can only get you so far.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's partially even a sin, because it's like, it wasn't a bad movie. I wouldn't say it was a bad movie, but it wasn't great.
Yeah.
You know,
it was just fine.
It was
it's
just
something
fine.
that in a month I'm not going to remember really any of the plot, you know. It's one of those movies.
Well, it's the same plot as any other basic movie.
It's one of those movies that, you know, like we've watched movies where I look at the movie poster like a year later and I'm like, we watched that?
Yeah.
Like it just was so unimpactful in my mind that it just is gone. Yeah. You know, and then there's other movies where I saw them 10 years ago and I'm like, I remember that. I remember how impactful that was to me. So
I don't even know if there's anything that could help make it better.
Not really.
Well, I'm sure there's something, but there's nothing I can think of that would be like, if they just did this, it'd be a lot better.
Yeah.
But because I'm sure there's ways to make that movie better, but it also seemed very safe. It was just extremely safe.
Yeah.
And again, mostly cool fucking Transformer animations. That was like that was the big thing, and that's why I watch those movies anyway. It's just to watch some cool fucking transforming animation. It's not because the plot's amazing. So I guess for me, in summary, I think I'd give it like maybe a 6.5 out of 10. Like, it was above, I mean, let's say 6 out of 10. No, I don't know. I feel about 6.5 out of 10. It was fun. It was decently enjoyable, but kind of mindless. Nothing to write home about. But that's kind of what I wanted out of it. Yeah. So if that's what you want, just to enjoy a movie with some popcorn, family, friends, by yourself, whatever, go for it.
Yeah. It's super visually pleasing. There's a lot of scenes where I was just like, this is so unnecessary for them to animate this well, and they really are going for it. Like it was very visually impressive, like 100%. I mean, you can tell that they had an enormous budget for this movie, at least. And, you know, I kind of thought about it. I was like, you know, there's only 2 main actual human actors in the whole thing. So most of the budget can go to CGI, you know, because that was one thing that I really liked, and I think is pretty cool about movies like that, is it didn't feel like it was just 2 people. It was extremely immersive and realistic. Like I felt like all of those characters were real, like in the story, you know. They felt very human-like and very real and all of that, and so that was pretty cool. That I wasn't. I honestly, I did get very immersed. I kind of like, you know how sometimes you almost forget that it's all CGI? Yeah. You know, I was like, oh shit, yeah, none of this was there, like filming. Like it hit me only a couple times where I was like, damn, because it looks very realistic, but also extremely sci-fi, very, especially the bad guys are pretty cool. Like they're kind of grimy and gross. But I also liked, they did the 90s aesthetic pretty well, and like the soundtrack was pretty cool.
Yeah, it takes place in 94. Lots of 90s hip hop. Yeah, there were a lot of cool things about it that were kind of cool and quirky that they did really well. And also, I'm just sitting here thinking about the movie, and I remembered that, you know, of course they had the whole arc where the human doesn't want to give them the key, so he wants to destroy it, and his other friend, the other human's like, you can't do that, they won't be able to go home. And Optimus Prime is like, I understand you, don't do it. And then by the end, they're working together and they get their redemption arc. And, you know, stuff like that was satisfying about it. I wouldn't
Yeah.
say it was monumental, but it was satisfying.
Yeah, and it was kind of like, oh yeah, you're both trying to like protect your planet, you know, like yeah, it was kind of, yeah, I liked that part. It did feel heartwarming and all of that. So yeah, it wasn't. For most of the movie, I was enjoying myself. Like I definitely wasn't over here like, oh my god, like I can't believe I'm watching this, you know, whatever. Like I did enjoy it, and I was like fully engaged watching it. And yeah, sometimes you just need easy movies, you know. That's why sometimes, like, I'm not a huge kids movie fan, but like sometimes when I'm like either really sad or like, you know, just really overwhelmed, I'll watch like Zootopia or something.
I kind of wanted to see the Elemental one.
Oh yeah, my sister said that one was good.
Is it called Elements?
I think Elemental.
That one looked interesting.
But like when I'm wanting to shut my brain off, I also want it to be cute a lot of the time. And like Zootopia is like the pinnacle of fucking cute.
Well, see,
oh
that's
my God,
the
I love it.
difference. That's the masculine feminine difference where it's like, I want transforming metal robots kicking ass.
And I want cute little fluffy animals. Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2 is also one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Because of all the little food critters. Oh my God. Oh my God. Again, not there for the plot, just like action movies. You know, I'm not
Exactly.
there for a monumental plot. I'm there to just look at some cute little guys and some simple little jokes and stuff.
I think that's maybe the thing about this movie. I would say it's slightly better than just the hero's journey in a different setting.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit better than that. Not a lot, but they did do, like you said, it's set in 1994. So there's a lot of like cool 90s music that they put in there. There's a lot of references and stuff that are kind of cool. And, you know, there's different stuff like that you're like, oh, that's cool. You know, that was cool. Like they do stuff like that. But
Oh, well, and when with the hieroglyphics and stuff, it was so interesting because when you're watching a movie that takes place in the past, like she was like hand drawing all of the symbols. And for a second, I was like, girl, just take a picture. And then I was like, oh, fuck, she doesn't have a phone to take a picture. Like, so she had to write it all down and, you know, all of that. I like those touches for sure. That kind of make you realize, like, oh, God, we're in the past. Like, they can't just do that, you know?
yeah.
So that was pretty cool, you know?
Yeah, there was one part, though. So the Optimus Primal kind of took you out of the movie for a second. It was just so damn corny. Optimus Primal. He's a fucking ape on another planet.
And they the whole movie was introduced with a scene of the Maximals, and they called him Optimus Primal within like the first 5 seconds. And I like looked at him and I was like, is his name Optimus Primal? And he was like, yep. I was like, sick. Okay. That's what we're watching. No.
I didn't expect that.
It was really
I had
funny.
the same thing. I was like, oh, God. But the names, I mean, that's where I'm like, is that a Chinese thing or what? I don't know. But the other thing was that, of course, like, well, I also thought it was funny. At the end of Act 2, they totally did the whole, we failed, we can't do it.
Yeah.
We're going to have to go home. And then the main human's like, no, you can't, we're going to do this. He rallies it, like totally.
And everyone's like, yeah.
Totally traditional, totally by the textbook.
Yeah.
Which you don't get points taken away from that.
No.
But you don't get anything extra for that either. I mean, it was super timely and predictable. And then the other thing was like, I know it's 1994 or whatever, but when they're about to lose to the bad guys, the fucking planet-sized Decepticon evil person, it's not a Decepticon.
He eats planets.
He eats planets. He's bigger than a planet. And so they get the key thing working, which is a portal, which is why they need it to go back to their homeworld, which is why the bad guys want it, so that their overlord, this planet-sized fucking metallic demon person, can come eat Earth and eat any planet that he wants by just teleporting there.
Whatever.
Not a horrible premise to start with, but I was just sitting there watching this graphic of planet Earth being approached by a planet-sized fucking machine through a wormhole, and I was like, people would remember this. Like, nobody on Earth, on Earth wouldn't just be like, remember Tuesday? Like, oh, nothing
Yeah.
happened. Like, I think I looked at you and I said, like, everyone's psychology at that time wasn't capable of processing this, so they just didn't see it in their minds. They couldn't understand it, so it just wasn't there. Because I'm just like, yeah, nobody really had, I don't think anybody had a phone that could take pictures in 94. So people weren't just taking, I mean, I was just like, you're going to put a fucking planet-sized evil fucking demon machine in the sky and not mention it to the rest of the planet that they didn't see it or whatever.
Yeah.
That part for me was I couldn't suspend my disbelief for very long after that. I was like,
well, yeah.
okay, whatever.
And the
like,
poor Peruvians, Jesus! Like when the Autobots were fighting the fucking what were they? Were they the Unicrons or whatever? I don't know what they're called, but the evil robots basically. They were fighting, and I told Tim, I was like, all I can think of in these movies is the people who have to clean all this shit up when these battles are over. And I know they don't, like, obviously they don't think about that in the movies because it's just about the action. It's just about, you know, destroying whatever and causing chaos and all of that. But like they were like tearing up giant roads on this mountain and like just all these buildings and stuff. And like the same thing happened for me in like a bunch of the Marvel movies and stuff when they would like break through buildings and stuff. And I'm like, and again, it doesn't matter. It like really doesn't matter. But like all I can think of is like if it was like happening in real life, the people who would have to clean all that up every single time and be like, I'm fucking over this shit. Like,
no, I've totally thought of that shit where I'm just like, yo, this is horrible. One, and I didn't understand exactly what you meant. And
yeah, you didn't.
And so because I feel exactly the same way. Not as much now because I've seen it so many times or whatever, but she just goes, I feel bad for the people who'd have to fix the roads. And I was just like, I'm pretty sure that's CGI.
And I didn't respond for a bit because I didn't really realize, I didn't know what you were saying. And then I was like
they didn't tear up the road for that.
I was like, oh my God, he thinks I mean the actual literal road.
I was confused. I was like, what? And then she was like, no, I meant in the universe of the movie. Poor Peruvian people are going to have to fix this road. And I was like, oh, yeah. Yeah.
Not only, well, and yeah, once the like portal was opening, I was like, these poor people.
Yeah.
I'm like, their town getting destroyed and seeing this world ending monster in the same day. Like, oh my goodness.
So the antagonists, the evil robots in this movie are not Decepticons.
No.
The Unicron is the world planet eating Unicron person.
Yeah.
So he has Terracons and Predacons are the... I don't know what
oh
the
my God,
difference
those are the
is.
dumbest names. Terrorcons and Predacons.
Oh, I thought it was Terra, like Earth.
No, terror.
That would have made more sense because
Yeah, it
they're like
would've.
eating planets and shit.
Well,
No, it's a Terror.
Can't expect them to.
Yeah, get somebody who can come up with cool names, please, because these are just not it.
Unless they were part of the comics, because again, like
It doesn't matter.
I can't-
Get better names.
I can't blame them. Sometimes with like corny names and stuff, I like learn later that it was part of the comics, and I'm like, oh, okay, like you're trying to be as true to like the original story as possible. Like I'm not gonna
Right. It
I'm
came
not
from
gonna
the
shame
80s,
you too much for
whatever.
like some of the corny stuff. But yeah, overall, I'm just a little sick of sequels and I'm a little sick of remakes, and we are in a film depression right now.
Yeah, we are.
Literally, film is fucking tragic right now. Oh my God.
Do you just mean like the overextension of a franchise past like the normal story? Because I don't have a problem with like just like having a good sequel or a trilogy.
Yeah, it's like it feels like just beating a dead horse, and like they're not actually doing it for the love of that series or that franchise. It really feels like just cash grabs because there's no substance to the sequels. Because I mean, 9 times out of 10 a sequel's not going to be that great, but it can happen if you can tell that they really are trying to make like a new story with it, or like, you know, build the world more or something instead of just like something shitty. But I just mean sequels, remakes, the fact that Disney has remade like every one of their princess movies with real life people. I'm like, no one fucking gives a shit. Like, oh my God, it drives me nuts. And they're doing a prequel to the Hunger Games. I'm like, ugh. Sorry, I just get so mad about this because like we are genuinely in a time where like it's good movies are coming out, sure, but it does not compare to the 2000s. It does not compare to the 90s. I think the closest time to what we're experiencing right now is the 80s, where it was just like over the top, maximalist, just I hate it so much.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, I understand from like Hollywood or the filmmakers' perspective, they don't want to make it's a big chance, especially with something Transformers. You spend $200 million to make something you're not sure is going to sell, you know, which kind of makes sense why this movie is kind of so safe. But also, you're not going to get a great turnout if your movie's just safe. It's like, yeah, they did make it was like, you know, they did make money. They didn't lose money, at least.
Yep.
But, you know, I think I understand from their perspective. Because I've seen a couple things about it, and like, you know, the superhero movies are in and they did so well, so they're like, let's make more superhero style movies, let's copy Marvel, let's do this. So I understand. I don't know if there's the other thing is the writer's strike, I think, is still happening.
Writer's strike is still happening, and I hope it keeps happening until they get what they deserve.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, well, and I mean, it just goes to show, like, I don't know for sure, but it seems like at least in the top 10, two of the like highest performing movies of this year have been Barbie, that was a fucking toy brand. Again.
Isn't that Hasbro too?
No, it's Mattel.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the other. And it was a fine movie for what it was. I did enjoy watching it. We went to go see it for my mom's birthday, and again, it was fun for what it was. And like, I mean, Ryan Gosling and Margot Robbie are like phenomenal actors, so it's like, of course it's gonna be at least better because they're, especially Ryan Gosling as Ken, he did such a good job at just being so silly in a lot of ways. But you had Barbie, and then you had Oppenheimer, and it's like Oppenheimer is literally like I enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed it. It was really good. But it's like we're in the age of remakes and biopics, because honestly,
or
you don't
a toy cash grab.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, toy and like just franchises that have already been established type thing. You know, like, again, I love a good biopic. I think that they can be really good, and I love learning about people, but you don't write the story. You just like make it into a movie.
Right.
There's creativity involved in the cinematography, but like it's, the story's already laid out for you because it's their fucking life. Like it just, again, it feels like it feels easy. And I've never done it, so I don't know, but it feels like we're in this we're in an era of nothing new. Nothing is new. Everything has been done, or these people are real people that already existed, that if you read about them in a book, you're going to know exactly what the movie's about. You know, and then you have the toy companies where it's like, how the fuck are you going to make a movie about Barbie? And it was fine, but it, like, some of the feminist stuff was like, it was like shoving it down your throat, and I'm like, okay, like, it's a little on the nose. But that's just my opinion too. It's not like arbitrary or anything. And then all the remakes, they piss me off. There is never, like, maybe I shouldn't say never, but it's very rare that there is a good remake. And I get really angry about this because I'm like so passionate about good film. And it just, like, these companies are fucking killing the film industry. Because it's like, no, and with the writers not being paid enough and everything, it's just like, creativity is gonna die. It's gonna wither away and die because the companies only want to make money, and they're not, with all the money they're making, they're not fucking paying their employees. And so it's just like, oh, I get so angry, especially with Disney and all their fucking remakes. I'm just like, Like, I don't care. I do not care. Anyways, I get pretty angry about this. Thank you for holding the space.
You had to get that out.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think I'm not as mad about it as you, but it's definitely frustrating because I felt like if we wanted to, I haven't seen Barbie. We watched Oppenheimer together. Those could be different podcasts, so we won't go
I think
too
you'd
crazy
like Barbie
into
in
it.
some ways. It's a fun watch.
Well, I don't like knowing stuff before I go into movies, so there's already so much around it that it would be hard for me to just go in blank slate and just, because that's my favorite thing is, let's just watch this.
Yeah.
Oh, it was controversial at the time. No way. Or whatever it is. But yeah, I think I totally agree. And that's what the movie companies are doing, is they're trying to go with stuff that works because they're trying to make the most money possible. And that's part of the thing about art as a business, because that's what cinema is art as a business. Same thing with music. That's why a lot of pop stars like Taylor Swift, well, let's come full circle here, and whoever else, they get shit because it's, in order to reach the most amount of people possible, you have to be as broad as possible.
Yeah.
And if you choose a proven method, then you're gonna get more out of it. But when it comes to art, you can't just do that because people sense that and they know how soulless it is.
Yeah.
And so it becomes this thing where it's like, if you had an insurance company that was, oh, everybody does this, let's try and adopt this model and move forward. People would be like, oh, this is great. I love it because this is how this shit's supposed to work. No problem. When movies do that, you're like, this is fucking insulting to me because I know what's happening. I hate it. They've done this over and over again. I'm bored. I feel it. It's just horrible, because it's supposed to be art. And so that's where you get this whole catch-22 of art as business and how to handle that. And, you got to take a chance on new ideas, and sometimes new ideas work, sometimes they don't. It's impossible. It's like when we were talking to Ackland and I was like making fun of nails and he was like, he thought they were attractive. I was like,
Yeah.
I never would have guessed a guy would ever tell me he thought women's glue-on nails were attractive. But that's fine that he feels that way. And I don't. And that's fine. So sometimes when you make a movie, you're like, this is going to be the shit and everybody's going to love it. And then it flops.
Yeah.
But at least you tried with a new idea. But now they're just rehashing old ideas because they feel like that's the only thing that's safe to do, and it's not working. So I agree with you. I'm just not as emotional about it.
Yeah, well, and I should say I'm not discrediting the phenomenal movies that have come out in the last couple of years and everything. And a lot of the smaller, like movie production companies and stuff are doing great and like all of that. But I think that a lot of them would agree too that like these movies with an astronomical budget are just overshadowing everything else. And so it's like, they like a lot of these lower budget movies or maybe less flashy movies, maybe that are just kind of like slice of life, less special effects, CGI, that kind of stuff. They're completely getting stomped on by these, because once you've been exposed to, if you're just a normal everyday person watching what's popular, your perspective of movies gets warped, because if you're only watching Marvel and Disney, which are the same fucking thing, but like Marvel, Disney, new Star Wars movies, all those popular things, like that's the standard of movie that you're looking for, like that, where it's like millions and millions and millions of dollars to make those movies. And so, yeah, like, and I don't know that for a fact, but I do know that, these movies, just like we talked about with Walmart, like when a company gets so big and has so much money, it's hard for anyone to compete, and not necessarily to compete to be a good movie. It's to compete for the exposure. Because people aren't going to know about your movie unless it's out there, And so when you have these companies putting out a couple or maybe up to like 10 blockbuster movies a year. It's hard to get a slot at a movie theater, or like, you know, however all of that works now with, you know, online streaming services and stuff. I don't really know, but
well, and that's the thing, is that it's not just to the box office, to VHS or DVD. It's like, you know, we've evolved, and so of course companies like Hulu and Netflix are buying movies or commissioning movies to be made specifically for their platform. And I have no idea how the streaming model factors into how successful a movie is and how much money it makes. That seems so weird to try and figure that out. But I think also there have been some, like, Us is super original. So it's like they're just fewer and far between.
yeah.
And a lot of them are on streaming services, which doesn't feel the same.
No.
And so, because going to the movies is an experience,
Yeah.
and it's awesome, but it's all changing. It's all different, you know? So I think that plays into it too, is there's movies all over the place now that you got to keep up with all of them. And you get weird Amazon Prime movies.
There's so
which
many.
Never watch those. They're every Amazon Prime movie I've watched is horrible.
There's so much media out there. It's like so overwhelming. And yeah, you never know like what's going to be good, what's going to be terrible, like, you know, whatever. But yeah, I know that there have been some amazing movies to come out, but yeah, I think they're a little bit more few and far between. And, you know, I think just in the grand scheme of the last like 50 years of cinema, or maybe closer to like 70 years, like we are in a total slump.
No, I agree
oh
with you.
My God.
I agree with you.
You know, like, just especially, you know, if you're someone like me who, or us, who really enjoys like older movies, you know, or maybe more artistic movies, whatever it is, like it's just really hard to like, you know, like because me and my dad were trying to pick a movie to take my mom to and like surprise her. We picked Barbie because that was the only one that seemed, you know, like it would be enjoyable for her. It was around Halloween, so there were some scary movies out, but like, again, they've remade The fucking Exorcist. You don't remake The Exorcist. Like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Anyways, but I'm such a hypocrite because I literally said in the last podcast or whatever, I've never seen The Exorcist. But it's like that infamous that I know you don't remake it.
There's certain stuff there's no reason to remake.
No, you don't
Just
remake The Shining. You don't remake The Exorcist. You don't remake Eyes Wide Shut. Like, you don't fucking, like, there's some movies that are sacred. You do not touch them.
Yeah, why? I mean,
Oh, it'd be like someone remaking Pulp Fiction. Like, oh, that is disgusting.
don't ever
do
say
that.
those words again.
I know, right? It's horrific. But you know what I mean? So it's like, it just feels so gross and just, you know, I am glad that there are so many movies that I love that, like, I'm not over here in dire need of new movies. Oh, but what I was saying is that when we were looking for a movie to take my mom to, there was just like nothing. There was remakes and fucking just like, oh, it was just so, I was like, this all looks awful because they're all sequels and remakes and whatever. And it's just, you know, it's like, that's not what the movie theater's experience should be. And of course, I think it's a new Martin Scorsese movie's coming out. And I saw the poster for it and I was like, that is what I want to see. Because you could even just tell from the poster, like it's gonna be, you know, like a film.
Yeah.
That's the thing, a film.
Yeah.
I want more films, you know.
Yeah.
But I know I'm like, I get really heated about this. I know that
I couldn't tell.
it's really it's not as big of a deal to a lot of people. I know a lot of people just want to enjoy something, and you know, maybe you love Disney and you love seeing them redo stuff. Or maybe you
I would love if Disney disappeared. I would love
Me
if Disney
too.
was not on this planet anymore.
God, Jesus. Honestly, I think me and my mom have talked about it before, but like Walt Disney would be so fucking upset
Yeah, I think he. Well,
Oh my god.
I think a lot of the guys whose generational work has grown to the size that it is now, I don't know. Everybody's different, but I think some of them would just be like, "What are y'all doing?" And
Yeah.
don't get me started on the Star Wars sequels. All three of those movies are fucking hot garbage.
Literally so bad. And again, Disney got their grimy little paws on it.
So they just
ruined
ruin everything
it.
they touch. It's like, why? Like,
The funniest part is them redoing the princess movies to me. I just am like, there's no fucking reason that you need to do that. And there's no, like, oh my god. And I know I don't know if they're still remaking it, but they were gonna remake the Snow White movie
I thought you were gonna say Finding Nemo.
with real actors, real fish.
Live action Finding Nemo.
No, but
Now that would be good.
yeah, Disney, take notes. No, but they were. I don't know if it got shut down or not because of controversies. I don't fucking know. But they're remaking Snow White, or they were. I don't know. And the main character that's supposed to play Snow White is so fucking obnoxious. And she was like, in an interview, she was like, "This is a story about fuck. I don't even know if I want to open this can of worms right now because it was so." She was like she doesn't need a man and like she can be her own powerful, like essentially like girl boss. And I'm like, it's a fucking princess movie. Like, what the fuck are we doing? And also, like, I totally get with The Little Mermaid why people were so mad that people were mad about people getting mad that Haley Bailey or whatever her name is black. Her name's Haley Bailey. I swear to God. Look it up. Look it up.
It's fine. Who would do that to your kid?
It's so terrible.
There's so many fucking stupid people out there. Why would you do that
like,
to your kid? Like Elon Musk's kid? Like, why would you
Yeah.
name him that? Like, come
Yeah.
on, dude. You just set him up for failure.
Yeah. So, like, people making a big deal about Ariel being black is not cool. It's like, so fucking what? You know, like, it's fine. Like, it doesn't matter.
I think,
but
I think with the race swapping, I'm just like, do you guys have nothing better to do than swap the races in every franchise or movie ever made? Just go
they really do.
Go make fucking movies about black people that are dope. Like, you don't have to fucking make everybody black. Just go make more movies that are cool, that have black people that are good characters. Like, what's the whole deal with making, this person's Indian, this person's black now? It's like fucking first of all, I don't care, but like just fucking make new movies and hire black people. Stop being fucking weird.
It honestly feels kind of, and maybe again, I'm like, this could just be my perspective because I don't know what it feels like on the other end, but it kind of feels like here's this character that got super popular in the 50s because it was a beautiful white woman, and we're just gonna go ahead and slip you in there, and like it feels so like disingenuous. Like it's like, instead of you being able to build yourself up as your own actor and your own character, we're gonna go ahead and just like put you in where a white woman did better like before. It just like it feels gross. It feels just so odd.
And Wizards of the Coast did it with the Lord of the Rings set with Magic the Gathering too.
They did
where they
weird.
Just made Aragorn black in the cards. And the stuff like that, I think what it is like they're already established what color they are in the movies, and maybe it doesn't fucking matter, but we've never seen a black person in Middle Earth, and you're just going to insert one. And it's like, the reason why people have a bad taste about it, I think, is because there's no reason to do that. Yeah. Because you're not making the story different or adding to the story by making them black. And you don't have to do that to make it black. But if you're going to change stuff that already exists, it just feels like you're trying to push something.
It feels very pandering. And
you're just trying to push some racial thing on everybody that's like, again, just be original, make a new story, make it about black people. Hire black people to do a space fucking opera like Star Wars and rename it something new. Like, you get what I'm saying. Just make a new story and hire a more diverse staff. It doesn't fucking matter.
That's why Princess and the Frog was so great, because
that was cool.
It takes place in Louisiana. It's very heavily influenced on that culture. It was great, and it just felt normal. It didn't feel like they were trying to do anything. Like, it was just like, because this is like, you can, and what's funny is like Disney is fully capable of like telling stories of not white people and like they've done it. They did it with Soul, and Soul was amazing. Well, I'm like,
well, the thing is that, and I think people get upset about it too, because a lot of media now is just doing all this social justice stuff and just shoving it down everybody's throats. And it's, whether it's race or gender or whatever, it's like, what if this person was let's redo this whole story and make it a woman. It's like, just write it.
Like Ocean's
Can you not
8 or whatever?
Yeah, can you the woman Ghostbusters? It's like, can you not just fucking make a movie with the strong? Is it that hard for you to make a strong lead character in a new movie that is just a woman? Like,
that's what I'm saying.
Like, come on, let's go. Like,
that's what I was saying about like just inserting someone of a different race into a role that was originally white. It feels like you think that they're not able to create a good story on their own. That's what it feels like, and like, how, you know what I'm saying?
Are you not quite, but
so like how
the
you were
actor?
No,
or
no,
actress,
no, no,
or
no,
the writers?
No,
or
no.
What are you saying?
I'm saying, like you just said, about like, can you really not write a strong female character without basically pushing it into a role that was previously a man's role?
Right.
Like, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
It feels like you're just inserting it, and it just like, and maybe I'm saying it wrong, and it's really hard to talk about race, and it's really hard to talk about gender, because I feel like I'm gonna fuck it up. But I hope that, like, I would love, like, I love seeing just great characters, and it doesn't matter like what their race is or their sexuality or whatever. But it has to feel like
I think it's a disservice to, since we're talking about women and black people, I think it's a disservice to both of them to just swap them in for a role that used to be played by a white person or a man, because it's like, just make a new story. Again, either make it black, make it New York, like they did with Ramos. He was a Hispanic, but I mean, it was in New York. Totally fine. No, it was awesome. It was an awesome story. And, or The Princess and the Frog, like, just make a story. And like Us, had those sort of cultural undertones to it. But again, it was just a black family that we just followed. Like, it wasn't like this, historically black family from this historically black neighborhood did these historically black things. It was like, no, they're just a black family in a horror movie, and it was awesome. And like, just do more of that. Like, it's not that hard. But when you just swap it, it's like you're just trying to make this weird statement that doesn't work. And it just doesn't feel good, because it's like it feels like you're just trying to push something onto the audience. And yeah, whatever. But
that's what I was trying to say. I don't know if I said it wrong or something, but
no, you didn't. You said what I said. I'm saying the same thing.
Yeah. So essentially, the whole reason we got onto that point is because I didn't really care about. I don't really care that much. But with Snow White in particular, her skin color is actually very important to the story, because that's why her name is Snow White.
Right.
Is she has like skin white as snow. And the actress that they have, or had, I don't really know the state of that movie, but that they have playing her is like not that. And
is she black?
No. I don't actually know.
You just imagine if they hired like a really black, like Nigerian woman, and they just renamed it Pitch Black.
Oh my Okay, just look it up really quick because I don't know and I don't want to assume or anything, but all of it to say is she does not have a very light white skin. And so it just that's the only one where I'm like, that's weird. You know, I'm like, I feel like a real life person playing Snow White needs to have like basically like porcelain skin. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree, but she does have like, especially right here, the facial structure is very similar.
I guess.
So I think that could play into it.
I don't think the facial structure really matters. They've not really cared about that in the past with the real things, but that was the only thing that stood out to me because I'm like
scheduled.
I'm like, I understand people being like, what's the big deal about Ariel being black? You know, like, because honestly, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because her race wasn't important to the story. But it's like matter. With Snow White, it's like, guys, it's literally called Snow White for a reason. Like, what the fuck is going on? And people are probably going to get mad at me for saying that. And honestly, like, I'm just like, that's how I feel, you know? I don't think it's like, sometimes it is important to a story, you know?
Well, and that's the thing. If it matters to the story, that's when it's like, don't just do it to fucking do it.
Yeah.
And again, like with Ariel being black, give me black, give me Hispanic, give me Chinese
whatever.
mermaids. I don't give a fuck. They're fucking mermaids.
Chinese mermaids. Yeah.
I don't give a shit. But like, you know, and sure, fucking give me more diversity. Again, it's great.
Yeah, it's fine.
You know, there's a lot to be said about, you know, the consumer market and the way people are portrayed and throughout history and this and that. And I think we're going through a good movement of being more aware of the other people that fucking exist in the world, you know, and it's awesome. But when you just don't be original, remake an old movie and then or just do something that already exists and then shove different races and genders of people into other roles, it's like you couldn't just come up with a new story and like just make something awesome that's new and have all those people in it. Like, come on.
What's funny is that, so this reminds me of J.K. Rowling and like her whole thing. Oh no, the Grem cam was out of focus. That's okay.
It always goes out of focus.
Yeah.
I don't. There's no.
They're just. It's. You can see the silhouettes. It's fine.
Go on, Grem cam. Go on,
Grem cam. Come on. Come on, Grem cam. I don't know.
Okay.
But no, it reminds me. So people love to hate on J.K. Rowling, and it is warranted, 100%. But it's funny that people are okay with getting mad at her because they label her as a TERF. Oh my god! All these
that's
terms.
Not a real thing.
All these fucking terms.
That's not a real thing.
But anyways, so people are more than willing to, because when she goes, actually, Dumbledore was gay, and actually Hermione was black, when like clearly in the story she mentions something regarding Hermione's whiteness. I can't remember exactly what. It was something like talking about her freckles against her light skin or something. I don't know. But essentially she's trying to shove in inclusivity because people started shitting on her for not being inclusive. And she was like, actually, like, and it just wasn't true because she wrote it in the fucking early 90s. Like, you didn't think about that stuff. And that's a whole other problem, sure. But people get mad at her for trying to insert that. But then when like Disney or fucking Marvel does it, people are like, yay, like inclusivity. And it's like, they're doing the same thing she's doing, where they're like trying to make their old media like fit this new narrative instead of just making something new.
Yeah.
You know, but because J.K. Rowling's a TERF, it's warranted.
Well, that's what people say.
Yeah. Such a mean word. Just like Jesus.
That's what we're not going to get into at the end of this podcast.
No, we are not.
Yeah, I just the something interesting about that, to play devil's advocate, is just that people, and this is part of the thing, is like, you know, let's just take America for example. I mean, everybody in positions of power and influence for a long time were pretty much white.
Yeah.
And so I think that there were probably a bunch of assholes who intentionally didn't either give black people work, or minorities, let's just say minorities of any kind, didn't give them work, didn't represent them, whatever. But at the same time, some of it is just like, when you write a story, like, Jordan Peele makes stories and makes them black people because he's black. That's who he is. He is reflective in his art. J.K. Rowling makes a story about kids who go to magic school and they're white because she's white. She didn't think about it because that's just what you, if that's your world and that's what you think about, that's just what you do.
Yeah.
And so I do think that there's a good portion of this type of stuff where it's like, you know what? Didn't think about it. And we should have probably, but we didn't. And so we can change it now because we can't go to the past and change it, which is like what they're trying to do.
Yeah,
and it's like,
that's what
you
it
can't
is.
go to the past and change it. Let's deal with it and accept it. Because the first step is always to just accept what everything is right now. And once you accept it, as ugly and as bad and as fucked up as it is, then you can make a change.
Yeah.
But you can't deny that it happened. You can't pretend that it didn't happen. You can't try and go back and change it. You can definitely apologize for it, but let's just move forward and make things better. And it's like, that's the whole thing that I have with all this social justice shit, where it's like, men in the past, white men in the past, all this stuff in the past. It's like, yeah, the past was kind of fucked up, okay? It's fucked up. It wasn't good.
Yeah.
We can all admit that. What do we do now? How do we move forward? And how can we all live together in the world and make it an awesome place for everybody? Like, can we do that? Can we focus on that instead of trying to like do whatever we're doing right now?
Yeah.
Which is like weird as shit.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and I think like the main thing is just it's so obviously pandering a lot of the time. And no one wants to be pandered to, no matter who you are. Like no one wants to feel that, you know? And I think that that's one of the main things that I think is very popular right now is like the swapping, whatever kind of swapping, you know? And it just feels you're just like I really like your point about the Ghostbusters thing. It's like you really had that hard of a time writing like a strong female lead or like a strong female group that you just had to like sub it in for the fucking Ghostbusters. Like,
well,
really?
honestly, they kind of do, because that Captain Marvel movie, was it Captain Marvel?
Yeah.
What's that really
Brie Larson.
stuck up? Yeah, super fucking stuck up actress. She is kind of fucking
I'm
annoying.
not a fan. Yeah, she's kind of on her.
She's on a
20
fucking
on
diva
her
kick.
like Google questions thing that they do, where it's like they hold up the thing and they like take off to ask questions. It was bad. She was so like, very condescending person.
Yeah,
but
not a fan of her. And that
knows?
movie was like, again, because it's like with Star Wars too, with Rey, it's like instead of just making an interesting and strong female character who's intriguing, who you care about, who grows, who has a transformation, whatever, they just like make them super powerful, magical for no reason. They don't have to do anything. They're just awesome.
Yeah.
And it's like, can you just make a good female character, please? Like, she doesn't have to get saved by anybody. She doesn't have to fucking also be a man.
yeah,
Like, can we just have a good female character, please? Like,
yeah,
that's all I want, is just make her a real fucking female character. I don't care if she's black. I don't care, whatever. But just do better, guys. Like, come on.
yeah. And you know, it is tough because with the larger corporations and stuff, it's all about being palatable. And so it's hard
also
for them to write a real human being. And so like you can see it in smaller budget movies. They do a really good job at like the, you know, real female emotion especially, but any person's emotions. I know Little Women, the most recent one, wasn't necessarily a small movie or anything. But I think that was a great one that like really conveyed just the, like, they felt like real girls, and it was pretty cool to watch. I was like, Greta Gerwig, who also directed Barbie. But she did a really good job with Little Women. It felt very good. But yeah, when you're trying to be palatable to literally everyone, it's like, it's kind of hard. You do kind of stick to the surface level. And
well, and the other thing is the whole social justice inversion of tradition thing is just really in right now.
It is.
We're going through it.
the counterculture thing is huge.
It's necessary, you know. It's if you look at it if you step back and look at it a broader view, it's like this is kind of like these sort of like awkward steps that we have to take to like work toward having a more open and honest and equal, sort of footing for all this stuff and everything. And so, some of it's forced, some of it's stupid, some of it's great. And hopefully on the other side, we'll figure it out, but we're in the process of trying to do that right now. So
yeah, it feels a lot like the pendulum swing in like the 60s and stuff with like the like peace, love, whatever, where it's like on the surface it seems great, but then you realize like people were like, it's like they went way far off the deep end, because it was super anti-war, super all of that, to the point where like Vietnam vets that came home were like villainized. It's like, whoa, that's not the solution. And like doing drugs and having orgies is not the solution either,
right?
Like getting a bunch of STDs and stuff, not the solution, like, but you have to, I feel like you have to burn it all down to like build it back up. It has to kind of get like the pendulum swinging. It has to swing all the way to the other side where it could seem a little crazy to quite a few people, and then we get to that center point again.
Well, I don't think it has to, but I think that's the tendency, is just to, this is happening, well, fuck all that, we're going to go completely the other way. And well, and it's just like war, racism, sexism, just discrimination in general it has been an ongoing issue for so long. And so I think that just like the anti-war movement, it's just kind of like, we're fucking over it, Oh yeah.
There's a lot of, it feels like it's to that point where it's like so much of this shit is so ingrained, like the systemic racism and sexism and stuff, it's just so ingrained, like even the best people out there, it infects their mind because it's everywhere, and it's the consequences of racist and sexist actions can be seen today, even though it's way lower than before. And so I think that a lot of like upcoming generations are just disenchanted with everything and are like, we have to go all the way to the other end for you guys to understand, I guess. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, I don't know, but Transformers was all right though.
Yeah. Transformers was pretty sick. Yeah, I like that kind of movie, just
it was easy.
Yeah, it was very easy.
But
and yeah, I don't know where this conversation went so off the rails.
If you listen to it again, it'll make sense.
Yeah. Sometimes what's happened, and I've noticed a trend because now we've filmed enough of these, I get really self-conscious about what I talk about on here, and I feel like I sound really mean and like really intense or very controversial, and then I listen back to it and I'm like, oh, like, no, you sounded very reasonable. Like I just build it up in my head where all I can think of when I'm talking about like race or gender or whatever is like I'm just fucking Andrew Tate over here being like, women shouldn't have rights, and like someone's gonna clip that.
Yeah, maybe if we were more like Andrew Tate, we'd get more views though.
That's true. No, but like I'm over here thinking that I sound like that in my head, and then
he knows what he's doing.
I watch it and I'm like, oh no, I was fine, but like I get really worried about it.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is it's super hard. We're getting more and more comfortable the more of these we do with what we say, but it's tough just saying what you think without trying to worry about what anybody's going to say about it, because we're self-conscious about that, and we have our own opinions, and they might be different from somebody out there who's listening, but we also want to make sure we're clear with what we say, because we're not racist or sexist.
No.
And
at least not intentionally or anything.
So it's like you got to be careful with what you say, because it's the internet. So
yeah.
Also, before we're done, I saw a raccoon today. I had a raccoon at work. It was crazy. Anubis was with me at work because he comes every day with me, and he was freaking out and barking. And I go outside, and normally there's like dogs that walk next to the gate sometimes. So I thought it might be them. It wasn't them. Sometimes the train or something, he just goes crazy. But it was inside the yard, and it was with these pallets, and he was going crazy. And I was like, what is this? And so I go over, and underneath one of the tarps on one of the pallets on the very bottom, there was a huge raccoon. Like, he was pretty big, and he was down there, and I was like, oh shit. And so I called animal control. I called Victoria. I locked up Anubis. I tried to go get him. So I put Anubis up. I tried to come back. He's moved. He's gone, and I didn't know where he went. I was trying to look for him, and I eventually, and it was in this like tight space down low, and I was like laying down trying to find this guy, and so I could get him out. I mean, I wanted to make sure that he had left, because I can't let Anubis out again, and then they go into it, and then Anubis kills him, which would probably happen, but then Anubis gets some fucking disease from this trash panda, and you know, I don't know, but I found him again. He was like curled up, and then the last time I saw him, he was underneath one of the pallets, and he was looking at me, and I could see his little eyes and his little mask, and he looked right at me. He knew I was there, and he knew I was trying to get him out or whatever, and he was so afraid because Newbie was barking at him. He was so scared, and I was trying to talk to him. I was like, look, man, you gotta go. Like, you gotta get out of here. And he like looked at me, and he like looked away, and he was just like, his little mask and his face. It was
Raccoons
just,
are so cute.
and especially it made me think of like one of the cats and something where you talk to them and you like know they can hear you, and they might be able to kind of tell a little bit from your tone, maybe, but they don't understand you, but they're like using their body language. And it was like, it was crazy. And it was kind of like a little moment I had with him right at the end there. So animal control won't come get him because it's just a raccoon. Legally, he said you're allowed to shoot him. The guy on the phone did. You are allowed to shoot him. I don't have a gun, and also I don't want to shoot him.
Yeah.
But you know, if it came to it, I thought about it. But there's no reason to do that. Not really. And I told that to my brother John, who's going to be on the podcast, and he was like, "Well, if you don't want to shoot him, why didn't you just say that first instead of saying I don't have a gun?"
You did say I don't have a gun first, and it was kind of funny.
Anyway, but yeah, so last time I checked, he was still there. I'm going to check tomorrow morning. Hopefully, and where I work, I have tall gates that like curve outward. He looked a little too big to squeeze under the gate, under the fencing, I mean. And so there was one part I noticed that was like, looked like someone ran into it, so it was a little bowed out. So I don't know if he can slip under, or if he came in that part, or if he like was climbing and fell in somehow, like on the top of off the top of the building or something crazy, like he was having an adventure, like maybe
they can climb, you know.
maybe I was in a Disney movie today and I didn't know it. This raccoon
Yeah.
adventure. He was adorable though.
Yeah.
He was absolutely adorable, and hope he's doing well out there. Yeah. Yeah, that was something I had to bring up because he was so cute.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Oh my goodness.
But he was scared. He was
I
super
want
scared.
I want to feed raccoons, you know, like
Their little hands.
when oh my god, when we have our house in like the wilderness, I'm gonna just like give them breakfast every morning.
Let's not do that.
People do it all the time.
Yeah, because we'll start attracting lots of stuff though.
I guess.
We'll talk about it. Anyways, thank you so much for listening to the podcast.
Yeah, and let us know your input on anything we talked about today. I'd love to hear other people's perspectives, especially on our last couple topics, you know, about movies and just originality and, you know.
Have you seen Transformers Rise of the Beasts?
Yeah, have you seen it?
What did you I gave it a 6.5 out of 10.
I'd give it like a... That's tough because the animation was really good. The CGI was really good. I'd give it... I'd say probably a 6.5 as well. I'd agree with you. I think the visuals carried it for sure. I was leaning more towards a 5, but I was like, nah.
It's
like,
a little better, right?
I could watch it. I could...
Yeah.
I'm fine with watching it. I didn't end it and be like,
well, and
what the fuck did I just
liked
watch,
it.
you know?
To be honest, we liked it. We were sitting there and we were like, this is better than we thought it'd be.
Yeah.
It was fun.
It was engaging and it was good. But yeah, not very memorable or anything. So yeah, 6.5 I think is a great score.
Okay.
But yeah, let us know what you think about anything. And yeah, like Ackland did, feel free to send us some like clips and shit that you want us to react to. I kind of like that.
Email us.
I think that'd be fun.
stucktogetherpod@gmail.com.
Yes, please do. And yeah, if you want us to like answer any questions or anything too, you know, I know that John posed some questions that he wanted us to address in our podcast episode with him. But if you have any questions you just want us to address, or want our thoughts on, even if it's really dumb questions, or very, very high level philosophical questions, we'll try our best.
If you just not calculus questions, anything but calculus.
Yeah, that might be tough.
And if you have a movie you want us to watch, you can tell us that. For next week, if you want to watch the movie before the podcast so you can be ready when it comes out, we are going to watch Boogie Nights.
Boogie Nights. It's my movie pick. It's one of my favorite movies. I love it. Fair warning, it's very explicit, but it's in the 70s/80s, and it's about the porn industry, but it's so good. It has Matt Wahlberg. Mark Wahlberg's evil twin, Matt Wahlberg.
Matt Wallyberg.
Marky Mark. It has Marky Mark in it.
Marky Wally.
And it's so
well, spoiler
good.
alert, we already watched it. We just need to record the next podcast.
Yeah, and Tim had never seen it. So
I hadn't seen it and watched it, so we're going to talk about that next week.
Yep.
Nothing else here.
Feel free to watch it. It's great.
It was really good.
Rated R for anyone watching with kiddos, if you watch with kiddos.
I don't think our podcast is very kid friendly.
Not really, but like if you're like, oh, I could watch this, like you could watch Transformers for a movie night with your family,
Yeah, you could.
So yeah, just it's rated R. It's about porn, but also disco, and just the whole vibe of that time, man.
It was not about disco, but disco was involved.
No, it was not.
One scene about that where they danced.
It was not about disco, but it had heavy disco influence, and I'm really excited to talk about it. So,
well, that'll be next week. Join us then for another great podcast. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you next week.
Don't forget to smash that fucking like button.
Subscribe to us.
And subscribe to our channel. Turn on that bell notification, boy.
If you subscribe, the Gremlin Cam will come into focus.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, just know that it's your fault. The fact that you're not subscribed is the reason why it's blurry. So the only way to fix that is to press that subscribe button. See, you still haven't pressed subscribe. What the hell's wrong with you? God.
Anyway, thank you guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye. Love you.
Bye.